Millionaire invites ex-wife to humiliate her, but she surprises everyone with a Ferrari and twins. Jake leaned against his black Lamborghini, the glaring Texas sun scorching the pavement, its heat rivaling his own simmering anger. He had called Lisa over tonight with a singular intention: to show her just how far he had come since their divorce. After years of bending metal and working late nights as a mechanic, his stubborn determination had propelled him to a life of luxury that dripped from every corner of his sprawling mansion. But along with the pleasure of his newfound status came a gnawing ache in the pit of his stomach. Lisa had left him chasing her dream, the dream he had once shared with her. The doorbell rang, shattering the silence of his towering facade. Anticipation coursed through his veins as he opened the door, only to be blindsided by the sight of Lisa stepping out of a bright red Ferrari, her laughter rolling like summer thunder. She looked radiant, too good, and every fiber of his being screamed jealousy. His heart raced, not with excitement, but with an anxiety he dared not voice. The woman who had abandoned him for a life of art had now arrived with a confidence that further rubbed salt into his wounds. As Lisa took a step forward, he noticed two young girls bouncing around her like fiery comets. Daughters. His daughters. The realization hit him like a freight train, knocking him off balance. The laughter of the twins, so soothing yet so piercing, cut through the carefully constructed walls he had built around himself. They were the living proof of a life he had been blind to, a life that had moved on without him, a life he had never even contemplated while honed in on his successes. "Jake," Lisa greeted, her voice steady but edged with an emotion he couldn't quite decipher. The facade he built shattered as the weight of his unfulfilled dreams filled the air between them. His heart thudded in rebellion. How dare she look so collected? The girls ran past him, unabashedly exploring the home he had meticulously crafted. "Nice car," he managed, the bitter taste of sarcasm choking his words. He had planned to showcase his wealth with grand gestures, but felt small instead, smothered by accusations he had yet to voice. As they settled into the living room, the conversation turned awkward. It spiraled from superficial comments about the weather to the kind of memories he had buried deep within his heart, the late nights spent painting dreams side by side, the laughter that echoed against old greasy walls. "I've built something, Lisa," he conceded, the words tasting bitter on his tongue. "I have cars, a mansion." He knew it sounded hollow, even to himself. "Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Yet, as Lisa shared tales of struggles while building her art career and raising their daughters, Jake felt the ground beneath him shift. The admiration he once held flickered back to life, but it mingled with jealousy and confusion. What did it mean to win at life, anyway? His life had become about things rather than connections, and it gnawed at him like regret. Just as clarity crystallized among their exchanged words, a family secret erupted, one he had never heard before. The revelation knocked the wind out of him. Everything shifted. Would he accept this truth that threatened to reshape everything he thought he knew? The shadows of his past loomed larger, and he realized the night could end either with forgiveness or deeper resentment. With the stakes raised high, he found himself at a crossroads. Would he lean into this moment of emotional upheaval, or retreat into the comfort of his opulence? As Lisa held her ground, determined yet vulnerable, the tide of the evening surged, leaving Jake on the brink of an abyss he had spent years avoiding. Would he take the leap? The tension stretched taut, ready to snap. The moment hung in the air, heavy with untold truths and unresolved feelings. As Jake grappled with his swirling emotions, he felt a knot tighten within him. Lisa's revelation echoed, resonating deep inside, challenging everything he thought he understood. The pride he once wore like armor began to crack. "Jake, are you even listening?" Lisa's voice sliced through his reverie. Concern danced in her eyes, mingled with resignation. I came here for our daughters, not to dwell on the past. They deserve to know their father. His stomach twisted at her words. The role of father felt foreign to him now, like a distant echo that reminded him of responsibilities he had willingly cast aside. Had he become so absorbed in his quest for success that he'd forgotten the weight of family? He started, but the words caught in his throat. Apologies felt inadequate, mere platitudes for the years of absence and negligence. Could he make her understand that he had believed he was doing it all for them in a misguided pursuit of prosperity? The twins chased each other through the halls, their laughter a stark contrast to the tension that gripped the room. They were vibrant reminders of what he could have been a part of, the moments of joy he'd missed. His throat constricted as he watched them, feeling simultaneously proud and mournful. I didn't know what I was missing until Jake paused, searching for clarity amidst the chaos. Until I saw you today. Honesty crept in, uninvited yet necessary. I thought I was doing the right thing, building this life, but it feels empty without you in them. It's like running a race with no finish line. Jake, I left because you couldn't see beyond your own ambition, Lisa said softly but firmly. I wanted more, and I couldn't wait for you to realize that. I had to create a life that included our daughters, and that meant leaving you behind. Anger flared briefly, igniting memories of late-night arguments and emotions buried under layers of resentment. And what about me? You could have believed in us. You could have fought for us, he replied, feeling a wave of frustration wash over him. But Lisa remained composed. Believing is different from pretending. I wanted to support you, but I was suffocating. I found a way to breathe on my own, Jake, and it hasn't been easy. The conviction in her words pierced through his defenses. Silence enveloped them, heavy and uncomfortable. Jake internally battled the ghosts of his past, questioning whether the man he had become could embrace the truth standing before him. Was he ready to truly listen and accept what life offered him now? He looked at Lisa's face, softened by years of her own struggles but resolute. The desperation that loomed within him urged him to take one precious step forward. What if I can change? What if I want to be part of their lives? The question rolled off his tongue, heavy with uncertainty yet laced with hope. The flicker of surprise in Lisa's eyes gave way to emotion pooling there, and for the first time, they were no longer adversaries but two people standing at a precipice, hesitant but aware of the possibility of something new. Just as they began to bridge their divide, the ring of a phone shattered the silence. It was hers. Lisa glanced at the screen, her brows knitting together. It's the gallery. I have to take this, she said reluctantly, standing to leave the room and calming her expression. Jake watched her retreat, feeling the gravity of her absence once again. Could he reshape his narrative? As he wrestled with the potential for redemption and the realization that the man he was could no longer stay the same, he felt the ground shift beneath him yet again. He found himself facing a new fear, the fear of facing himself and all he had avoided. Would he truly be able to confront the path he had taken and the man he could become for the sake of his daughters? But as the conversation continued between Lisa and the gallery, a realization emerged. The journey of understanding, acceptance, and growth had just begun. Jake steeled himself, a sense of urgency igniting within him. He was ready to confront not just his past, but the future ahead, the choices he must make to finally step into the role he had shunned all these years. Would he seize this fragile opportunity, or would his fear hold him captive once again? The air thickened with potential as he weighed his options, the stakes higher than ever before. Each moment felt like the tipping point, and he realized that the next decision would determine the course of his life. The time had come to face not just his past but the potential for estrangement or reconciliation. Looking toward the exit where Lisa had disappeared, Jake knew he needed to act, but how far was he willing to go? The sound of Lisa's distant voice faded into silence, replaced by the chaotic chatter of the twins outside. Jake felt the vacancy of the moment press against him like a heavy weight. He was left in the hushed stillness of the living room, entangled in a web of unfamiliar emotions. Doubt gnawed at him. Was it too late to rekindle something real with his daughters? To craft a meaningful connection where before there had been none? staring at the space where Lisa had just been. An unsettling recognition washed over him. He was ever the architect of his own demise. Success, once such a clear marker of achievement, felt hollow now. With each deal struck or merger signed, he had forged a path devoid of warmth, unfamiliar to the laughter of family. The twins' joyful giggles pierced through the thick air, urging him to act. What makes a good father? He wondered, as uncertainty hovered over him. Was it being present at birthdays or Christmases? Was it in teaching them how to ride their bikes or in the quiet moments of reading bedtime stories? But as the reality of those moments threatened to slip through his fingers, he knew he had to create new ones. He stood up abruptly, motivations surging within him. Jake had spent far too many years in his own echo chamber of ambition, ignoring the value of connection that was right in front of him. Images of the twins filled his mind, smiling, innocent faces that reflected joy and needed security. The thought of them without a father's care churned his gut. He turned towards the exit Lisa had taken. A flicker of determination ignited within him. With a steadying breath, Jake picked up his phone. He hesitated over the screen, knowing that a conversation would not be easy. His fingers hovered over the messaging app, uncertainty weighing heavily. He could say something lighthearted, something to break the tension, but it felt trivial. Instead, he simply typed, "Hey, I want to be present for the girls. I'm ready to start making changes. Can we talk?" A few seconds passed before he hit send, and the relief that flooded through him was startling. It was a step, albeit a small one, away from the man who had been lost in ambition towards becoming someone more. Just then, as if the universe had been waiting to acknowledge his shift, a ping from Lisa's response appeared. "I'll come back in a few, let us talk." Jake felt a wave of both gratitude and trepidation. What would they discuss? What could possibly bridge the expanse of years lost? Almost instinctively, he paced the room, casting a glance out the window toward the street where the sunshine spilled warmth. He needed clarity. In that twilight of waiting, Jake considered the lessons he had ignored. Redemption wasn't just about saying the right words. It was about action, about proving to Lisa and the girls that he could change. He thought about the extracurricular activities the twins were involved in, how far behind he was on their interests. When had he offered to help them with school projects? When had he joined them in a game, laughed with them? His resolve hardened. He would not just be a spectator anymore. Returning his attention to the living room, Jake found himself at a crossroads. Did he merely hope for a reconciliation? Or would he actively pursue it against the backdrop of a life that had neglected its most essential relationships? The sharp trill of the phone snapped him out of his reverie. It was Lisa again, standing at the door, a look of cautious expectation crossing her face. He sucked in a breath, steadying himself as he reminded himself that the stakes were higher than ever before. This was more than mere words. It was an opportunity to remake himself within the framework of fatherhood. His daughters deserved a dad who wasn't just present but engaged, who would fight for their trust. But as he opened the door, a flicker of fear coursed through him. Would she be open to the changes he professed, or would resentment reemerge, tearing down the fragile bridge he was trying to build? Jake's heart raced, the shifting dynamics of their conversation promising both possibility and peril. One step forward could lead to another rejection. Would he be the man who persisted, or would he retreat back to familiar patterns of avoidance? The moment had arrived to confront everything he had overlooked and step into a role he had long neglected. With Lisa standing just before him, the air around them crackled with potential, and Jake felt the true test of his resolve loom ahead. What would he do next? The door clicked open, and Jake faced Lisa, whose expression was a blend of caution and hope. Her body language, hands fidgeting at her sides, told him this moment, just like his, was laden with unspoken words. He gestured for her to sit, and as she settled onto the couch, he felt the weight of years of silence compressing the air between them. "Thanks for coming back," he said, his voice steadier than he felt. "I'm ready to make changes. I want to be there for the girls." Lisa studied him for a long moment, measuring the sincerity behind his words. "Do you mean that?" she finally asked, her tone both skeptical and searching. The question struck him. Could he render his feelings into tangible action? His mind raced back to those small moments he had overlooked, the school plays he hadn't attended, the shared homework sessions that had been brushed aside. Yes, I've realized that success isn't worth much without family. I want to be the dad they deserve. The silence mirrored the stillness around them, thick and contemplative. For a heartbeat, the air felt electrified by memories of shared dreams. A family he had once taken for granted. Clearing his throat, he leaned forward, his resolve solidifying. I want to attend their school events. Help them with their projects. I want to know what they enjoy, what they dream about. I've been so blind. Lisa's posture eased slightly, her arms uncrossing as if to signal her willingness to engage. It's not going to be easy, you know? She warned, a tinge of unease in her voice. They need consistency, not just promises. Her words, though tinged with caution, ignited a flicker of hope within him. I understand that. I want to show them that I can be there for the long haul. All I ask is a chance to prove it. Proving it means showing up. Her gaze bore into his. What do you really want, Jake? To right the past or to build a new future? He thought about the years he had missed, the dinners that had gone unsaid, the bedtime stories that had turned into distant dreams. Both, I guess. I want to build something real, but I know my past actions speak louder than any promise. Lisa nodded, her expression softening. You can't just say you want to change. You have to act. The girls need to see it, and you need to feel it. It's about reshaping who you are. The intensity in her words hung in the air, resonating deep within him. He could feel the ground beneath him shifting, a moment of truth pivoting into an empowering revelation. I will, he asserted, a newfound determination coursing through him. I will change, and I'll show them they matter more than any deal I've ever made. For the first time, Lisa smiled, albeit cautiously. We'll take it slow then. Let us ease the girls into it. If you're willing to be part of their lives, it'll take time for them to trust you again. Jake appreciated her guarded optimism. I'm ready for whatever it takes. Their conversation transitioned into the specifics of the twins' upcoming school events, interests, and passions. The more they talked, the more Jake realized how much he had neglected their lives. He discovered that Ava loved painting and Alex had taken up soccer. Each revelation brought a pang of regret, but also motivation. These are the stepping stones of connection, he thought as enthusiasm built within him. However, as they wrapped up the discussion, Jake's enthusiasm was tempered by a creeping doubt. Could he genuinely commit to this shift in his identity? It was one thing to say it and another to follow through. The moment lingered between them as they both caught glimpses of what could lie ahead. A fragile thread woven through shared words and tentative hope. Just as Jake prepared to speak again, Lisa's phone buzzed, breaking their focus. A stark reminder of the chaotic world they both inhabited. He felt a knot in his stomach as Lisa checked it, her expression shifting to one of concern. I need to take this. It's the school. As she stepped aside to answer, Jake's heart raced. Would this phone call douse their budding plans? Would complications rise to thwart his chances of gaining his daughter's trust? The grounding of their conversation threatened to unravel before it truly began, and he felt the tension coil tightly in his chest. Jake's thoughts raced. What if he was too late to forge a solid bond? Too late to reclaim the father he wished to be? As he paced the room again, unease fluttered within him, not knowing what news awaited them or how it might impact their fragile first steps towards healing. Outside, the twins' laughter echoed a stark contrast to the gravity of his thoughts, reminding him of what was at stake. He had to ensure he stayed the course, but the uncertainty gnawed at him. Would he stay true to this intent when faced with challenges to come? The echoes of that laughter resonated, prodding him toward the answer he desperately sought. As Lisa hung up, an unexpected gravity lay in the air. That was the school, she said, a blush creeping into her cheeks. They need me to pick the girls up early today. Recognition hit him like a lightning bolt. Could this be the moment to act? The door to their future was ajar, and now it was almost palpable. Would he rise to meet the challenges ahead or retreat into his shell once more? The tension teetered on the brink of revelation, as Jake prepared to respond once more. Knowing that this escape would demand any promises become action, he feared he could falter in. But the opportunity was right in front of him, a pivoting moment to seize. Would he take the leap? Jake inhaled sharply, his mind racing with the implications of Lisa's news. His initial excitement from their conversation clashed with the anxiety building within him. What if I go with you? I could meet them. Be there when you pick them up? The words spilled out impulsively, catching him off guard. Lisa met his gaze, eyes wide. You think that's a good idea? Just like that? Absolutely. It's a chance to show I'm serious, he replied, feeling a sudden swell of confidence. If their future was at stake, he needed to step up now. Showing up without hesitation was a critical first move. You realize that they might not react the way you'd hope, right? Lisa cautioned. There was both fear and an undeniable hint of encouragement in her voice, a mirror to his own uncertainty. I know, Jake acknowledged, clenching his fists with determination. But I've spent enough time being absent. They need to see me trying to be there now. Her silence spoke volumes, the anticipation hovering between them laden with equal parts hope and fear. Finally, she nodded. Okay, let us do this. As they stepped out of the door, Jake's heart raced with both trepidation and determination. The prospect of finally reconnecting with Ava and Alex felt monumental. Yet, doubts still gnawed at his insides. How would they receive him? Would they recognize the effort even if it was just the beginning? The drive to the school was punctuated by heavy silence, the weight of past disappointments lurking at the edges of his consciousness. Each traffic light felt like a countdown to Judgment Day. He caught himself rehearsing potential speeches in his head, how to explain his absence, how to address the wrongs he hoped to right. Ultimately, he knew that words alone wouldn't suffice. Walking into the school, he was overwhelmed by the noise and chaos of 1,000 children, laughter bouncing off the walls. That laughter. Would Ava and Alex even want to see him? Lisa adjusted her grip on her phone, glancing back at him with a slight, reassuring smile, as if sensing his turmoil. Just be yourself. They'll pick up on your sincerity. Those words clung to him, but Jake struggled to see how his self could bridge the gap he had created over the years. With every step toward the entrance, the echoes of his daughter's laughter rang louder, stirring a longing that felt almost painful. Then he saw them, standing by the school gates, colorful backpacks slung over their shoulders. At that moment, time seemed to slow. Ava waved to her friends, hair swinging as she laughed, while Alex stood with an air of casual swagger, his soccer ball clasped under one arm. They were vibrant, full of life, and he felt suddenly invisible. Lisa walked ahead, calling out to them, and Jake instinctively fell behind. Each beat of his heart echoed like a drum, urging him to step forward. Yet a wave of uncertainty kept him anchored in place. What did he have to offer but regret and promises? The uncertainty of his daughter's responses loomed ahead like a steep cliff. "Dad!" Ava shouted, eyes bright with surprise and joy. She ran toward him, arms reaching out wide. The room spun as he found himself tackling the emotions rushing through him. As she collided against him, her warmth melted some of his barriers. But before he could fully embrace the moment, Alex joined, pulling him into a tight hug, pushing through the doubts. "You made it." In that split second, with warmth enveloping him in a cocoon of connection, Jake felt a spark of transformation ignite within him. He realized that despite his reservations, he was here now. His daughters were here now. As the day progressed with laughter intertwining with nervousness, Jake began to navigate this new terrain of fatherhood, discovering the thrilling, unpredictable nature of rekindling relationships with untold depth and vulnerability. But as the final bell rang, signaling the end of the day, a knot tightened in his stomach. The casual banter was abruptly interrupted by a sudden commotion near the entrance. A figure emerged, one that shook the ground beneath Jake's newfound sense of stability. The moment Jake looked up, he was face to face with someone from his past, someone who had the power to shatter the fragile connection he was starting to build with his daughters. Would he hold on to this fragile moment or let the past come crashing down? Jake's heartbeat skidded to a halt as his eyes met the familiar face emerging from the crowd, the kind of recognition that set off alarm bells in his mind. It was Mark, an undercurrent of resentment surging through Jake's veins, memories of betrayal and old grievances resurfacing starkly against the backdrop of this hopeful day. "Jake," Mark called with a smirk, the kind that danced along the edge of condescension. "Look at you, all dressed up and playing dad. How quaint." Ava and Alex exchanged glances, concern flickering in their eyes. Jake's mind raced. He could sense the precariousness of their newfound connection teetering on the brink of collapse. With each mocking word from Mark, the delicate threads he had just begun to weave with his daughters felt like they were unraveling before him. "Nice to see you, Mark," Jake replied through gritted teeth. The cool demeanor he attempted to project was betrayed by the rising tide of emotions battling inside him. He had fought too hard to get to this point. He wouldn't let Mark ruin it, not today. Mark's gaze shifted from Jake to Ava and Alex, and his grin widened. "Lucky kids, you might not want to miss out on spending more time with your dad. I've heard he's not great at sticking around." The innuendo hung heavily in the air, a cruel reminder of Jake's absence. Ava's brow furrowed, and Jake felt a knot of despair tighten in his stomach. This was not how he had imagined the day unfolding. He felt every bit of the pressure to defend himself, but he also understood that this was not a battle to be fought with words alone. His heart raced with the need to protect the fragile bond he had nurtured, even if they were tinged with uncertainty. "Enough, Mark," he said firmly, finding a voice he hadn't known he possessed. "This isn't about you. It's about my daughters." The conviction in his tone surprised even him, filled with a newfound strength that had been dormant for far too long. Mark raised an eyebrow but backed down, still smirking but clearly intrigued by the tension he had inadvertently created. Jake felt an odd sense of empowerment. In standing up to Mark, he was also affirming his place as a father. It was a small victory, but a crucial one. Turning back to his daughters, he focused on Ava and Alex, their expressions filled with uncertainty. "I'm sorry you had to see that," he said with an earnestness that tried to mask the worry of what they were thinking. "You deserve a father who shows up, not one who folds under pressure." "Dad," Ava started, her voice wavering. "Just let me explain," Jake interrupted gently, kneeling to their height. "I'm not perfect, but I'm here now. I want to be a part of your lives. It's going to take time and we're going to make mistakes, but I promise to try." He noted how Alex's expression shifted from concern to curiosity. There was hope there, fragile and delicate, but real nonetheless. In this complex blend of emotions, Jake caught a glimpse of the possibility that he could redefine his relationship with them. "Can we do something fun?" Alex suggested, glancing at Jake with a hint of optimism. Jake felt a smile break through his tension. "Definitely. I was thinking ice cream. Let us go." Ava beamed, visibly eager to move on from the awkwardness. As they walked toward the parking lot, Jake felt lighter with each step. Maybe they had a chance. Maybe he could build upon the foundations he had started today. But Mark's presence lingered ominously in the background, a constant reminder that challenges still awaited him. The parking lot was nearly empty, and their laughter was free and unburdened. But Jake's mind drifted back to Mark's words, prickling at the edges of his newfound clarity. His past was far from behind him. It was a shadow that could loom large at any moment. In that moment, a thought struck Jake. What if this confrontation with Mark wasn't just about moments lost but about reclaiming his narrative? The time had come to face more than just Mark. It was time to confront all parts of himself that had been buried for too long. He realized, a chilling apprehension rising within him. The road ahead was uncertain, filled with both opportunity and conflict. Every decision would count, and he felt the pressing weight of what lay before him, ready to make a choice. But just as they were about to reach the car, Jake's heart dropped. A phone call interrupted the fragile peace, blaring loudly in the silence of the parking lot. The screen lit up with a name that sent shivers down his spine: Lisa. Jake stood frozen, realizing this was a pivotal moment that could lead to revelations and developments beyond his control. Would he answer the call and open a new chapter, or hold on to the precarious connection he had just begun to establish with his daughters. Jake's hand trembled slightly as he hovered over the screen, the weight of the decision pressing down on him. Lisa had always known how to draw him in, whether through guilt, misplaced loyalty, or shared history. This call threatened to shatter the fragile connection he was attempting to forge with Ava and Alex. Yet there was a part of him that felt an unshakable obligation to at least answer. With a deep breath, he tucked the phone into his pocket and turned to his daughters. "You two head to the car. I'll be there in a minute." Ava's brow furrowed, but Alex gave her a reassuring nod, and they walked towards the vehicle under the vast, blue sky. Jake watched them go, torn between the past and present. He couldn't afford to let old wounds dictate his future. That thought solidified his resolve. The swirling chaos inside him transformed into actionable clarity, the kind he had been devoid of for years. He walked a few paces away from the car, where the sound of their laughter faded into the afternoon breeze. The moment he flipped his phone over and hit the green button, he steeled himself for the storm he felt brewing. "Jake." Lisa's voice was smooth and cold, as predictable as the way she used to manipulate every conversation in their marriage. "I didn't expect to hear from you today. How's the parenting going? Heard you're playing dad now." "I'm trying to make it work, Lisa." He forced his tone to stay even. "This isn't about us. I just want to focus on my kids." "Funny, since you never seemed interested in focusing at all before." There it was, the sting of her words, which cut through the effort he had made today with his daughters. But he had to stand firm. "For them." "What do you want, Lisa?" "I wanted to see how you're doing, that's all." The sugariness of her tone set off alarm bells in his mind. "And maybe have a little chat about old times. You know, that conversation we've avoided for so long?" He felt the tension around him swell. "Don't you think it's time we just left the past behind?" "This isn't just about the past, Jake. It's about our daughters. They need to understand the whole picture." Her words hovered in the air, heavy with veiled threats and twisted insinuations. He swallowed hard, feeling his resolve waver. What did that mean for him, his chances of growth, and the relationship he was trying to build with Ava and Alex? "Look, I'm doing my best," Jake said, trying to maintain a sense of control. "I can't keep having these discussions that lead nowhere. I want to be a better father." "Then you might want to start preparing for the day when they have questions, big questions. Questions you may not be ready to answer." Jake's heart raced. Her hint implied that she held some hidden truth, one that could crumble the foundation he was attempting to build. He wished he could wipe the slate clean, forget the late nights of arguing, the broken promises, and the shaming. All he wanted was a fighting chance with his daughters. "I'll speak to you later, Lisa." He ended the call, feeling the ground beneath him tremble. All at once, he grappled with the realization that Lisa could derail him at any moment, but he couldn't dwell on that. He turned back toward the parking lot where Ava and Alex waited, their faces unsure as they exchanged glances. There was hope in their eyes, but also uncertainty stemming from their father's past decisions. It was a reminder of how crucial it was for him to fight for their trust. "Everything okay?" Ava asked, concern knitting her brow. "Yeah, everything's fine," he replied, forcing a smile even as his heart raced. Digging deep inside him, he grasped the fiery determination that had sparked earlier. "Let us get that ice cream. We've got a lot of fun to catch up on." As they drove off, the tension in the car eased slightly, laughter returning as they shared silly jokes and favorite flavors. But Jake couldn't shake the feeling of impending conflict. The shadows of his past were long, and he sensed they would come to demand acknowledgement. The echoes of Lisa's words rang persistently in his mind. Would he be able to confront the challenges awaiting him, or would he become ensnared in cycles he had hoped to escape once and for all? As they pulled into the ice cream shop, the stakes felt higher than ever, a test he was unprepared for, but he was willing to face head-on. Just as he was about to step out, a notification buzzed on his phone. The screen revealed another message from Lisa, this time more urgent, yet equally cryptic. "We need to talk. It's about the girls." Suddenly, the stakes multiplied, and Jake knew the time had come to confront more than just his fears. The past was responding, and he had to decide how to navigate its choppy waters without capsizing his present. As the last grains of laughter faded into the background, Jake stepped out of the car, his heart pounding against the confines of his chest. The ice cream shop buzzed with chatter and the jangling of spoons against dishes, creating a cheerful scene that contrasted starkly with the storm brewing inside him. He had thought today would be a simple outing to strengthen bonds with his daughters. Yet here he was teetering on the brink of emotional collapse. He walked into the brightly lit shop, the aroma of waffle cones wafting through the air. It beckoned him momentarily, teasing his senses. But even with the vivid colors and smiling families around, his focus remained fragmented, like 1,000 tiny pieces of glass dispersing into chaos. The phone buzzed in his pocket, and he ignored it, pushing aside the shadows of uncertainty. Ava and Alex clamored over the menu, their voices mingling in excited whispers. Alex pointed at a strange concoction of flavors, while Ava frowned and shook her head. Jake felt a flicker of happiness watching them. Yet the thought of Lisa's ominous message loomed over him like a thundercloud. "Dad, what do you think?" Ava called out, her eyes bright with anticipation and the innocence of childhood. "Get whatever you want," Jake replied, forcing warmth into his words. Yet, even as he spoke, the nagging thought persisted. What would Lisa reveal about their past that could shift the course of today? As they settled at a small table murmuring about toppings and sprinkles, Jake watched the interactions between his daughters, absorbing every moment. The laughter flowed freely, igniting a small flame of hope inside him. He wanted to be this version of himself, the one who was present, engaged, and deserving of their trust. But with every bite of ice cream, that trust hovered just beyond his reach, tied up in the elusive promise of a clean slate. "Can you believe how good this is?" Alex exclaimed, a big grin plastered across his face, whipped cream smeared on his cheek. "Totally. Can we come back tomorrow?" Ava added, her voice choked with laughter. "Of course," Jake said, and for an instant, he felt the weight of his past lift slightly, just enough to breathe. But then the familiar sensation emerged, the one that always struck when he considered his ex-wife's possible move, a heavy predilection to retreat into the safety of avoidance. The unease flared again as he fished his phone from his pocket, staring at the message blinking defiantly on the screen. His fingers hovered over the keys, torn between the urge to respond and the need to shield his daughters from the mess that history could bring. "Hey guys, I'll be right back," he said, standing up and moving toward the quieter corner of the shop. Out of earshot, he tapped the screen, his pulse racing. "What do you want, Lisa?" he typed, feeling the tremor in his fingertips mirror the turmoil in his soul. As he hit send, a surge of adrenaline coursed through him. This was a moment of truth. While he waited for a response, he mulled over how many times he had been trapped by the ghosts of their shared past. Each revelation cast a shadow on his attempts at rebuilding, and he felt the air thicken with tension. Would answering her jeopardize the fragile peace he had found here? As he tried to ground himself, he noticed a family gathered near the counter sharing their own moments of joy, a stark reminder of everything he desperately wanted. Normalcy, love, connection. He wanted to navigate this process not just for his daughters but for himself as well. His phone buzzed, and he checked the message. "We can't keep pretending everything's okay. They need to know the truth about their father. Meet me at the park later." A wave of anxiety mixed with determination crashed over him. He realized this wasn't just about Lisa. It was about forging a solid identity, one built on honesty and vulnerability. However, could he really pull himself together enough to face whatever truth she held? Seeing Ava and Alex laughing together served as a grounding reminder of what mattered most. It was a fight not just against the past, but against the fears that threatened to undermine the father he wanted to be. As he walked back to the table, Jake vowed that this time he wouldn't cower. Emerging from the shadows into the light, he would confront whatever awaited him. "Let us finish these, then I have something important to talk to you about," he said, summoning every ounce of courage he had. But as they dug into their cones, a knot formed in his stomach. The time was approaching for him to face Lisa again, and perhaps, this time, the revelation of truth would lead him to the redemption he sought for himself and his daughters. The afternoon sun burned brightly outside, illuminating the path as he contemplated the next chapter of his life. Would he finally step into the light, or remain shackled by the past? Jake's determination solidified as he watched his daughters gleefully finishing their ice cream. Each giggle resonated within him, wrapping around his heart like a warm embrace. But as the laughter bubbled in the air, it reminded him of the deceptive nature of appearances. Beneath the surface of joy lurked the confrontation waiting at the park. He took a deep breath, willing himself to remain present, reminding himself that whatever Lisa had in store could no longer determine his narrative. He felt an unfamiliar notion surface, a budding resilience fueled by the love he held for his children. Perhaps honesty, no matter how painful, was the bridge he needed to cross to fortify the bond with his daughters. "Hey, Ava, Alex, do you want to go for a walk in the park after this?" he asked, hoping to sway their focus away from the looming darkness. "Yeah. Can we feed the ducks?" Ava replied, her excitement palpable. "Of course. Great idea." Jake smiled, appreciating the small victory of engaging with them. The birds of uncertainty fluttered in his stomach, but he focused on their blissful faces instead. When they finished their cones, laughter lingering in the air like the sweet remnants of ice cream, Jake felt a moment of clarity. Today wasn't just about confronting his past. It was an opportunity to redefine his future. He glanced at his phone, still hot from the earlier exchange. "Meet me at the park later," echoed ominously in his mind. The decision loomed as he grappled with what shards of truth existed between him and Lisa. As they strolled toward the park, the summer sun hung low in the sky, casting a golden hue over everything. Children played. Families picnicked, each scenario depicting the idyllic life he yearned for. He studied his daughters closely. Both had inherited his passion wrapped in their fiery spirits. In that moment, Jake made a silent commitment to embody the man he aspired to be for them. Arriving at the park, they found a bench under the shade of an oak tree. Jake took a seat, noticing the leaves rustling above as if they were whispering sage advice. Ava and Alex dashed off to explore, and he let his gaze linger on them, admiring their innocence. But soon, the thought of Lisa's impending presence crept in again, right on the heels of his newfound resolve. He couldn't allow the specter of his past self to surface at this pivotal moment. Instead, he envisioned the father he wanted to be, someone marked not by regret, but by intentionality. As the countdown to his meeting with Lisa ticked down, Jake practiced opening lines in his head, preparing for the conversation that demanded authenticity. What truth would she present? Would it be as severe as he imagined? To distract himself, he turned his focus back to Ava and Alex. They returned, faces flushed with excitement, each holding a handful of tiny breadcrumbs. "Look, Dad, we're gonna feed the ducks." Alex beamed, his joy seemingly limitless. "Can you help us?" Ava added, eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. "Of course." Jake responded, feeling invigorated by their energy. He joined them, tossing crumbs into the water, watching as the ducks quacked, flapping their wings, eager to partake in this simple feast. But amid the fluttering feathery chaos, his thoughts were still consumed with Lisa. The quack of a duck blended with his inner turmoil, a chaotic symphony reminding him of the imminent confrontation. What was it that Lisa wanted them to know? Each ripple in the water echoed back doubts he thought he deburied. Suddenly, he noticed a figure approaching from the edge of the park. Lisa, her expression unreadable. She held a stance that seemed to merge confidence with trepidation, as if she understood this meeting held stakes greater than mere words. Jake stood, heart racing, mind racing faster. The breeze carried the scent of freedom mixed with apprehension. This was it, the moment where past associations would collide with the present he was carving for himself and his daughters. "Dad, who is that?" Alex inquired, curiosity lighting up his face. Jake turned to his kids, his voice steadying, fueled by resolve. "It's time to talk, and I want you both to stay close." As Lisa moved closer, The tension between them became palpable, each step fraught with memories, unspoken truths, and future possibilities. Would this encounter be the bridge to healing or a chasm of unanswered questions? Jake breathed deeply, readying himself for an exchange that had the power to alter everything. The moment was seizing him, and he braced himself for the revelations ahead. "Let us find out," he whispered under his breath, prepared to confront the truth that had shaped their lives, and ultimately, the future he hoped to forge. Jake stood, the vibrant sounds of the park swirling around him as Lisa approached, her face a canvas of uncertainty and purpose. He grasped the moment tightly, feeling it ripple into an opportunity for genuine connection. His daughters remained by his side, their innocence a resolute reminder of what was truly at stake. As Lisa arrived, Jake's heart pounded a metronome, marking the moment where past regrets met with a chance for reconciliation. The weight of her presence served as both a comfort and a challenge. "Jake," she began, her voice weaving through the background noise, "we need to talk about the girls." The gravity of her words settled over them, but Jake took a steadying breath, unwilling to crumble under familiar burdens. "Yes, we do. But before we dive into that, I want you to know I've been working on being a better dad. I've realized that it starts with being present." Her gaze flickered, an unexpected vulnerability surfacing in her expression. "I know you've said you want to change, but actions speak louder than words," she replied, the weight of years hanging in her tone. "Exactly," Jake asserted, stepping forward as he felt a spark of courage ignite within him. "And that's why I'd like to ask how we can work together for their sake. I've missed so much, and I want to understand what they need." Ava and Alex watched silently, eyes wide with unfiltered curiosity, grasping the undercurrents of their parents' tense dynamic. Lisa studied him for a moment that lingered like a pause in a final countdown. "They need stability and honesty. You can't just sweep the past under the rug. They deserve to know everything who you are now, and what you've become." The truth of her statement resonated deeply within him. Jake nodded, understanding the weight behind her words. "I agree. It's time to share and be transparent with them about us, about my failures. But it's also about moving forward, not getting stuck." As if sensing the shift in their tone, Ava stepped closer, her small hand reaching toward Jake's. "I don't want you to go again," she whispered, her voice barely above a murmur, a plea wrapped in innocent hope. His heart ached as he knelt down to her level, cupping her face with his hands. "I'm not going anywhere, baby. Promise." The sincerity of that promise solidified a resolve stronger than any he had dared to envision. "Jake," Lisa interjected gently, her tone shifting to one of understanding. "This is a lot for them to take in. You need to be honest without overwhelming them." A rush of clarity swept over Jake at her remark, as if someone had lifted the veil from his eyes. The reality of what was necessary dawned brightly. It was not just about his struggles, but learning to weave his narrative into a framework that made sense for Ava and Alex. "Let us give them the chance to ask questions," Jake suggested, directing his focus back to his daughters. "What do you want to know?" The twins exchanged glances, their expressions a mixture of curiosity and uncertainty. While Jake had finally found a pathway forward, he recognized the pivotal moment that lay ahead. "Why did you leave?" Alex's words pierced the air, direct and unvarnished. Jake inhaled sharply, but felt a new fortitude and courage replace the worry that usually surged through him. "I could give excuses, but honestly, I was too focused on my own goals, and I thought success meant everything: money, cars, status. I lost sight of what truly mattered, and that was you." The honesty resonated in the space between them, and he felt the weight of secrets lift, making room for authenticity. Ava's small voice chimed in, "But you're really here now." "Yes, I am. And I want to spend time with you, create new memories together." Jake glanced at Lisa, noticing a flicker of acknowledgement in her eyes. The atmosphere shifted subtly, an undercurrent of hope weaving amongst the four of them. They had begun to build a bridge across the chasm that had once seemed insurmountable. It wasn't just about sharing the past anymore. It was about restoring faith and nurturing the connections that had been stifled. "Okay," Lisa said eventually, her tone softening. "But remember, It's going to be a journey for all of us. They need to see that it's real. Absolutely, Jake affirmed, feeling the sense of ownership over his future solidify. I'm in this for the long haul, no more running away. As they stood in the park's soft light, surrounded by laughter and the chatter of life, a sense of hopeful clarity settled in Jake's heart. He could step into this new chapter of fatherhood, taking the reins of his destiny fueled by love and commitment. With the potential for a fresh start hanging in the air, Jake felt a renewed sense of purpose. This was his moment to craft a meaningful legacy for his daughters. He would work in harmony with Lisa and guide Ava and Alex to a future filled with love, honesty, and the importance of family connections. Today marked the beginning of a new narrative, not just for himself, but for the daughters he had yearned to embrace fully. The experience of facing the past no longer felt insurmountable. It felt empowering. And as they took the first step toward that shared future hand in hand, with vulnerability and determination, Jake couldn't help but believe he had conquered a critical piece of himself, a personal achievement rooted in the deep satisfaction of being a present father. Now, as the laughter floated around them like a warm breeze, Jake resolved to seize every moment, to cherish the small victories both now and ahead. It was time to write a new story. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share. True fans of personal overcoming stories understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.